Hello, so I have a bunch of different things to talk about today, updates and so on. I went to the doctor this morning, and hey, there's my cat. You can kind of see him. There he is. I went to the doctor this morning, and yeah, they basically just want an update to get me back to work. They're pressuring me, basically want me to say, oh, I feel great. You can sign off and say this patient feels great and send him back to work. But I don't. Today I feel kind of good, which is surprising. Yesterday I felt terrible. I didn't even make a video yesterday. I was going to, but I went to bed instead. And yeah, I told her I feel bad like 8 out of 10 days. I'm not making that up. The thing is that I'm not very good at I always kind of seem better than I am, I think. Which is frustrating, to be honest with you. Because that's partly like a learned thing. And I can't even help it. Because all throughout my life, it's like you're expected to kind of not rock the boat, not go against the grain. Always come off better than you really are doing, maybe on the inside, or that you feel, kind of in the totality of your life, the sort of general trend. You're always supposed to make it sound like or put a spin on things that it's okay and everything, but truly I don't feel that great most of the time, so I have to kind of tell them that, and they're trying to pressure me. And it's the doctor, he sends his medical assistant to meet with me now. They're both black, and that's all right, but he was just trying to put me on more medications because that's their training, right? Anything that isn't that you cannot assess physiologically, anything, then that would be sent to psychiatry. A medical condition that they can't figure it out, through different tests, blood tests and whatever, physiologically, they consider that's what psychiatry is. That's everything else, basically. That there's no cause within the body that they can identify and treat that way. And so their training, anyways, him just as a doctor, he's not a psychiatrist. The training is give them antidepressants, and that's their training if you don't even feel that bad. They'll give you them really fast, or they'll just give you some kind of pill, right? That's generally the training for most doctors. There are doctors that don't like that and try to not do that, but that is kind of I think what they're trained to do. But so he won't even see me anymore. He just sends his medical assistant, and she just tries to do a quick how are you feeling today? I don't know, I can't really, I think she's Nigerian, but she's kind of nice though. But I just gave her an update, and I told her I'm doing all these different things to try and feel better, and I want to feel better. But I told her again, she's like, will you take any medication? I said no. And I told her last time, I said, I've been on 5 or 6 different antidepressants. I've been on 3 different stimulant medications. I've been on 3 different antipsychotics. None of this stuff helps, doesn't make you feel better. I've tried it. And I've told them this multiple times, but it's just their training, so that's what they keep saying. They basically just want you out of their hair. They have a huge caseload. I think the medical system's really backed up and bogged, but yeah, and there's a lot of things that the doctors don't really know exactly how to treat it. There's these kind of like vague symptoms and stuff. So a lot of times they just go to the medications, but and it is truly hard, like from the doctor's position, because a lot of the treatment, it would be to treat actually metabolic disorders. So they're treating a lot of symptoms, right? But those symptoms are downstream. The upstream is a lot of it is metabolic disorders, and it has to do with the societal condition, right? Treatment would be, exercise, adequate sleep, socialization. It would be like living a healthy life, and then you'd be healthy. Doesn't that make sense? But a lot of people were not living that much of a healthy life, and it's environmental, right? And it's conditional. It's how we've been conditioned as well. So anyways, but I told her I was doing red light therapy, and she didn't even really understand it, but to her credit, she tried to look it up right away on the computer, and she said, "That is not proven," or something. And I said, "It is. It's true. It works." And she said, "Copilot didn't say that." I said, "AI, you can't really trust the AI. You have to look at the meta-analysis scientific papers. Like, you have to look at the research, right?" And I said, "Search it up, red light therapy, depression, anxiety." And she looked it up, and she was like, "Oh, it says it's promising." It's like, okay, She was saying, "Oh, it says it's for skin condition. It's for your skin." I said, "Yeah, a lot of people use it cosmetically." It's just like, dude. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but this stuff makes me laugh. Like, but yeah, it's not a cure-all solution. I wasn't trying to make it sound like it is, but it's shown to have an effect, right? If you read the studies. So that's why I got it, and I told her I was doing that. And actually, I forgot to tell her that I was supposed to be trying out a new trauma therapist next week, but I hope she got the message. I hope that they don't record down, "Oh, he's all good to go back to work," because I really am not. Like, it's like I can only manage for so long in certain situations, right? Like, it's yeah, and I've tried before. It's really hard to do it long term, and when I've tried to do it long term, what I end up doing is I just grind myself to a nub, and then I'm basically barely functional. And yeah, so I'm trying to figure out what's a more long-term solution, right? Healthy balance and so on. But yeah, so that was that, and then I left, and I was supposed to get a call from the peer support line. There in my city, they have like a service where it's like a peer support where someone will call you and talk to you for half an hour. They do it about every 2 weeks, sometimes every month or something, but it's like supposed to be like I don't know if it's supposed to be mental health support or whatever, but it's like just to talk to somebody. And I signed up for that a few months back, and I talked to this person maybe like twice or 3 times over the course of 3 or 4 months, and this person kept canceling, calling in sick and whatever, and then I get a call saying that they're sick. And then they sent me an email today saying that they tried my cell phone and that it didn't answer. There was no answer, and that they're leaving the job and that they can put me on the wait list again. And so I emailed. Well, I checked to make sure my phone was working. I got somebody to call me. It was working. I emailed back just saying, my phone's working, but okay, put me on the list, and it was nice to chat with you. But yeah, I appreciate the service, but I think I was a bit too real for this person, because Yeah, I was saying like some stuff, just as some real stuff about my life, and I don't know if they could really handle it. It was kind of a lot, I think, because I was talking about psychosis. I was talking about, you know, the condition of society, and I was talking about these different things. And this person said that they had struggled with psychosis before as well, and I was telling them about my book idea, and like I deal with really, I would say, difficult and complicated concepts and topics, which I will tell you, like, the most difficult concepts and topics are always to do with identity, I think. Um, they're to do with consciousness and identity. So that is specifically feelings, and then the self, or how you feel about yourself, who you identify as, what makes you up, your interactions with the world, what you do, you know, all the things that constitute identity, and then how you feel about things. Because these are the most real, truthful things that there are. And so I deal with that stuff. Like that's what I think about, that's what I write about, that's what I read about. And so I have like this complicated, I think it gets, I've tried to make it simple, but I think it is complicated theory and all this stuff around it. And I'm not trying to say like I've discovered something nobody else knows about. I'm just saying that I'm working in this area which other people do know about and deal with, but and necessarily it relates to God, but it basically just I think it's a hard topic. And also I told her I'm racist, and she was like over the phone because I was talking about, and I say I'm racist, but a more accurate way to put it is I'm like race realist. I believe that races are real. I believe that there's distinction between people that's beyond skin color. I believe there's like different phenotypes, and that people have different skull shapes depending on their genetics, their DNA, you know, and where they come from or where they originate. And I believe that there's different groups of people. I believe that people are really tribal. It's in our nature. And so I believe that, you know, races prefer or have an affinity for each other, for people of their own race or who are similar to them. And I just think that, you know, what we've been taught in the West doesn't even really make sense. And everybody kind of knows it on some level, but what it's been substituted with is kind of like a blindness, or a forced blindness through guilt and shame, and through kind of like cognitive dissonance as well. And we're seeing the effects of how that's playing out, and what it really is, in my opinion, although I didn't say all of this. It's actually, in my opinion, it's orchestrated, it's planned, and it is to replace white people, or to destroy white Christian civilization. And I know people don't like that concept or idea. It makes people really uncomfortable. I'm aware. I've thought about it, and I realize there's not gonna be any kind of change or anything, because people won't talk about it. And why won't people talk about it? Because they don't want to be called racist. So I just said, you know, I'm racist. And she's like, oh. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, people can't handle it. Especially women can't handle it. Most women, white liberal women especially. I mean, almost definitionally, just by saying liberal, but yeah, anyway. But it was kind of nice to have somebody to talk to for a little bit, and I appreciated that. Yeah, so she's gone. That's fine. I may talk to somebody else, but I think the hard thing is just uh, I'd say like the lonely aspect is probably the hardest thing about um, having opinions that go against the grain. Essentially, what I think of it as is a narrative. Like if you evoke a narrative which is not the one that people are familiar with or used to or kind of understand, quote unquote, or think they understand, then basically you're ostracized, you're shunned, people won't talk to you, and that is hard. Like that's legitimately hard, and this is sort of why people modify what they really think or what they an opinion they may have, and they just eventually stop saying it at a very like or they will say an opinion, but they'll say it with an air of doubt, like, I'm not really too sure why we have so many immigrants coming in just from India, and it's like they all work at Tim Hortons. I don't know why that is. People might say something like that, and then the doubt part will be kind of like taken advantage of, like, oh yeah, well, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but we're an open society, and multiculturalism is our strength, diversity is our strength, so it's okay. And they're just like us, everybody bleeds the same color red, and you know, it's kind of racist to point that out, so just letting you know. And the person who may have made the inquiry, basically the doubt and the doubt will get met with guilt and shame, and they just will shut up. And so, this is kind of what happens. That's just like an example. It's kind of dramatized example, but that is essentially somewhat of an example of what actually plays out, or may have played out, at various points. Although now I think it's not so good faith as that anymore. But like it's like no one will say anything. That's my point. It's more like everyone's beaten into submission at this point. Most people are. They focus on other things now. So, I'll talk about my day yesterday. I had a shitty day yesterday. I felt terrible, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but I masturbated like most of the day, and it is extremely embarrassing. I don't feel good about saying it, and I don't even really know what's wrong with me. Although I kind of have an idea. I don't really like to say that, like what's wrong with you, because it's just kind of like, it's almost like a giant question mark, and it kind of just can vortex into a forever spiral of sort of not knowing. But I have like this complex trauma history, exposed to pornography at a very young age, lifelong kind of addiction. I'm trying to break through it or break away from it. I feel very guilty about doing that, and I pray about it, but it's kind of like, and I've seen stuff online, like Dr. K, I think he's Indian or something, I'm not sure. He might not be, but he's some sort of like a psychiatrist that deals especially with online and gamers. But he said it's like a way to alleviate feeling bad, I guess. And I mean, that makes sense to me. I don't like a lot of what he says, because I mean, I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of him, but he's definitely dealing with psychology. Although I think, I don't, like I said, I don't agree with everything, but it was an extra tough day yesterday for me, and I'm not exactly sure why. I'm wondering if it was partly to do with the red light, because I just started that, and then also another thing I changed was I added selenium to my vitamins, so I'm not exactly sure why I had such a bad day yesterday, but it was a tough day. And my EMF canopy is now running late. I'm still waiting for that. And I would say I feel, especially yesterday, I wrote this down yesterday, I feel kind of pessimistic about the world. I know nobody wants to say that they feel pessimistic because it feels like you can be targeted for it. That it's you, that it's not the world, it's just you and your perception. I don't believe that. I think the world, if you look at the data and the metrics, things are not going so great. But what I say about it is that it's at this point people live in different realities. That's how I put it. And a lot of it has to do with your media consumption and the people you're around. You could think of it like different bubbles, and it's possible to just be in a different bubble. And it's kind of like everybody's touching an elephant, but their eyes are closed and they think it's something different. That's like an old picture. And, we're all touching the elephant, but some people are touching a different side than others. And that's kind of like a basic way to talk about perspectives. But I do think it is kind of at this point, almost like I put it like different realities based on what you get from the media and the content that you consume. And I don't think it's that outlandish to say that. I think everybody knows about rabbit holes. They know about TikTok doom scrolling, Instagram, whatever, the algorithm. And this is sort of the result of those things, right? And so anyways, my point though is that I do feel pretty pessimistic about the world at times. I don't feel pessimistic entirely because I do believe in God and my faith gets me through these things. But when I look at the world and all this different stuff, I'm like, man, it's getting worse. That's my point. And particularly, when I say getting worse, I'm talking about people's attitudes and how people are and behave, and almost like the vibe or the energy within the world. That's what I mean. Okay, yeah, so where's the magic? I don't know. The term magic, what I mean is, before, if you look at old videos and stuff of, LA, Chicago, New York, in the 40s, in the 50s, further back in the 20s, there was like a cohesion and a social direction shared by people. And yeah, it did coincide with people being homogenous, mostly white. But there were probably other factors that play too, compared to now, obviously. But there was more of a magic in like the 90s, in the 2000s. It really started to fade away within the last 10 years. Especially so in the last 5 years. But anyways, so where's the magic? I don't know. But I'll give you a small example, or like a light one. When I go to the store, when I talk to people just going to the store, the cashier or through the fast food or whatever, it sucks. Okay, it sucks. And it's basically like talking to a robot. It's like there's not much difference. They're angry. It's usually East Indian. A lot of it's East Indian women. And they have somewhat of an attitude. Not all of them, okay? You always have to make that kind of distinction. But I would say 80%, 70, 80%. There's no social cohesion. It's just like, in Canada, you kind of get by with constant, no worries, right on, no problem, thank you, sorry. Like, it's just kind of like a loop of those phrases, and it's weird, honestly. It's just weird. And I wonder what the East Indians really think of us, because Canadians are so screwed at this point, and yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, we used to be really polite. We used to be really friendly. But that sort of is organic because it was a high trust society. This is a term that gets used a lot, high trust society. It's that tolerance and that politeness has been taken, and that friendliness has been taken advantage of. And yeah, it's like I always say, like I keep saying, I believe it's planned, you know. And yeah, so the sense of wonder, I think a lot of it's kind of gone, kind of. It's probably still there in places, but it also depends on, I think, what narrative that you're in, you know, what bubble, what epistemic bubble, ontological bubble, your group, social group, and so on. But I would say that everything, you know, it kind of feels worse. And when you talk to people, they seem more stressed out. Yeah, so I think that the constant onlineness is a huge part of it as well. Being online all the time kind of sucks. You used to go to the internet to escape reality, and it was this cool place you could go to escape reality. Now it's almost like you go to reality to escape the internet. I saw that online somewhere. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it made sense. And also the hyper information gathering. Yeah, I think a lot of people are in hyper information gathering mode a lot of the time. Not everybody, but I would say a lot of people are. Yeah. And it's not good to get your dopamine from information gathering. It's better to get it from doing things. Using the information that you have, going out and doing things. And I think it would feel good to be part of like to live in ancient times or something like that. Like I think it would feel good to be part of an ancient tribe. And obviously when we're growing up, you know, people tell us all the time how good we have it and how bad it used to be. But yeah, I mean, there would have been a much more of a sense of social cohesion, and obviously things would have been worse. You could have died from the common cold or typhus or something. But I don't even think all of that is such a bad thing. Like, when I think about stuff like that, I wonder, is that even really that bad of a thing? You know, you enjoy the time that you have, you die, and then that's it. And people around you mourn, but then you're dead. And, you know, personally, I believe that your soul lives on. And you either go back to heaven, or I'm not really sure what happens after that. I don't really believe in reincarnation, but I do believe in infinity, that God is endless. And yeah, I'm not really too sure on that whole area or subject, but I don't think it would be so terrible to live in an ancient tribe. I know obviously now we think it's so backwards and everything. You read about it, and they used to sacrifice people to volcanoes. The Aztecs used to cut people's hearts out at the top of one of their step pyramids or their pyramids, and then eat the heart while it's still beating. You know, they'd vivisect a live person and then eat the heart, and then just kick the body down the steps, and then there'd be a huge congregation of people watching, and it was just like a huge festival. Obviously we think that's evil, but yeah, I don't know, like Christianity, we think that's evil, or a pagan religion or something like that. But my point is not really that. My point is that, yeah, I don't know, I don't know, it just sucks today. That's my point. It kind of sucks today. So yeah, anyway. Oh man, it's kind of funny. Oh gosh, it's funny. And the thing is, I think it's beyond a lot of people's understanding. Even today, like even though you go to old people and you talk to them about stuff, it's like these boomers are kind of fried. Like they're kind of brain fried from propaganda, and the world has changed so fast. You sometimes they talk about having gratitude and stuff, but I don't know. The world has just changed so quickly, and I believe at a social level, things are weird now. Like I think things are kind of weird, honestly. Um, so, yeah, and things feel kind of devalued now and, in a sense, sucked out. Um, but I think that has to do kind of with the biology of people, overstimulation, and so on. And yeah, I think that the West is dying. Western civilization, I think it's dying. And you just have to look at the numbers, right? The decrease in the white population, decrease in Europeans as a whole. I think there's more. What is it? There's more There's more people in India. There's more East Indians than there are all of our white people in the entire world. Is that correct? White people make up about 7 or 8% of the entire world's population, and I think there's more births in Nigeria per year than there are in all of Europe. So, yeah, so that would be more Nigerians being born than all of Europe, and I don't even know if that figure or that number is all of white Europeans or just all Europe in general, because the live births in Europe, I think it's 50% non-white. I think in Canada, it's what was it, 42% of the births are to Europeans, something like that. So anyways, if you look at the trends and the demographics, what they say where the arrow is pointing, white people are becoming a minority, and this is like factual. They always said, oh, the Great Replacement conspiracy theory, it's a white nationalist, far right, anti-Semitic, whatever theory. It's real, come on, like, it's ridiculous. I think Miami is 13% white. So, the white Western civilization is dying. I believe it's Jewish people. It's a Jewish plan, in my opinion, to do that. And the reason for that is because white people are disagreeable. They're not as easy to control. Their IQ is fairly high. Jewish people are very smart, by the way. Their IQ, I think, on average is like 110. Whites is like 100. And nobody talks about this. And actually, when I was in university, you get in trouble, and they have like specific. Because I took what was it, developmental psychology, something like that. They have a specific like thing that they teach you about how it's extremely racist to talk about IQ differences, and that it's not reliable and yada yada yada. That's not true. The IQ differences are real. They have an effect. And if you look at the differences, like in other countries, like in India, the average IQ is 75. In sub-Saharan Africa or West Africa, I think it's 65. And yeah, it's this stuff is real, So, so then my next question is, well, what's the move? What do we do? Because it's very hard just to get people to agree or understand and agree on what is going on, what is actually happening. That's extremely hard to do, and I believe that's on purpose. I believe that is purposeful, that it's extremely hard to even agree on what is going on, in spite of having all the data and everything. I believe that's on purpose, but it's hard to get people to even agree on what is going on. What then? Okay, so what is the move then? What ought we be doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, what should we do in light of the information? That's the question. And I think that a lot of people's answer to that question is save yourself. That's what I think a lot of people's actual answer is save yourself. And not everybody. Some people, they try and better the environment that they live in. And I appreciate that. And I tried to do that too, really. The thing is, though, that it's almost like a greater force is working against people that are trying to do that. There's a more powerful force, I think, working against people that are just trying to be really good, trying to better their environment, trying to do what's right. There's, I believe, strong forces working against that, and that when you try and do stuff like that, you will come up against those forces, and it's extremely hard, draining to continue to do what's right and what's good. An example would just be a basic example is a teacher. Teachers, they don't get paid a ton of money. They work and they're doing what a lot of people consider the most important job in society, and that is educating the next generation, the people that are going to grow up and work and be in the government and become scientists and whatever and yada yada yada. And that puts pressure on the teacher to do a really good job. Doesn't that make sense? Well, the children come in and it's like 1 out of every 32 has autism. You cannot say there's LGBT propaganda that's forced within the school system in the name of acceptance and equality or whatever. It's in the books that the kids are supposed to read in a lot of schools. It's in the curriculum. There is huge emotional dysregulation issues within kids. Their attention span is fried because they've had iPads since they were children, since they were babies for some of them. The sugar and candy, some of them have terrible diets. The homogeneity is gone. It's now heterogeneity. You've got all these different cultures, and you're supposed to, as a teacher, constantly teach multiculturalism. They have to adjust the curriculum or have special ed programs for the children that cannot keep up with the other children. I came across this firsthand. I was working in I was working for the government in one of the provinces here in Canada. Going into schools, I was supposed to be helping with I was supposed to be doing support work with specific kids, mental health support work. And, I worked with the most difficult kids within the classes. And I tried my best, okay? Like, I really did. I tried to use the best information, the best techniques. You try, right? But the school asked me, and I think I hope and I pray that I did a good job, for those kids' sake. But the school asked me, will you come into the classroom and teach an entire class about emotional regulation? The reason they wanted that is because that's the buzzword now. That's the buzzword all the time. People are talking about dysregulation and regulation emotionally, right? And a lot of teachers, I think, and a lot of people, they think that, there are these magicians that walk around called psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, whatever, and they're able to come in and wave the wand or something, and then people will just have the tools, and then they'll use the tools and they'll self-regulate, and the kids will self-regulate, and then I can finally teach them. It's not that easy. I tried, giving a course on emotional regulation, but I don't know if it really was able to help that much. It might have helped a little bit, but some of those kids started breaking out and fighting as I was giving the lesson. And yeah, the school system is like a zoo. It's really difficult. The public school system, especially, it's very difficult. Let's just put it that way. So, the answer I think a lot of people come up with is kind of like, save yourself. People are retarded. The goyim are retarded. The masses are stupid. Just sell to them. Make money off of them. Make money somehow. Move somewhere nice. Go on vacation. This kind of stuff. I'm not a huge fan of doing that, but I'm not saying I'm going to try and do that, but I think that is the solution that a lot of people come up with. And the goyim are stupid, it's true. I'm not trying to be really mean or anything, but the goyim, that means cattle. That's how Jewish people think about non-Jewish people or Gentiles, the people of the world. And what I think about it, what I try to think about it as, is that people are like sheep, like the flock. And I'm not trying to use sheep as in the derogatory sense, like sheeple. A lot of people say that, sheeple. But I think about it as in the biblical sense, like the flock. Who is the good shepherd? Like, people need to be guided. I do think that. I do believe that. Like, I think about that, and I think, who is the good shepherd? Who should be guiding them? Well, it's Jesus. It's Jesus Christ. And where do you guide them? Well, you don't guide them off a cliff. You don't guide them to the wolves. You bring them to God. Try and guide them back to heaven. I think that's what you're supposed to do. But that's very hard, because who is guiding the people? Well, it's the government. It's the government, and it's like different authorities, and they don't have people's best interest that much in mind. And it's like a constant struggle, right? Of trying to elect the best authority, and then there's all this other stuff going on. And it's very complicated, and it's a lot, okay? But anyways, I would say that a lot of the decency has been exploited away from people. And this is not a good thing. I think that a lot of the decency that people used to have, maybe you hear about this before, that people used to have decency, before. And there was kind of like a goodwill or a good nature among men. And a lot of that has been exploited away. And it's not that hard to do. It may be kind of hard to do, but it's harder to cultivate it. And it's, exploiting it away, that's not a good thing. How do you exploit it away? Constant scams, constant marketing, constant advertisements, extreme confusion as to what to believe. Basically, you're eroding people's trust. If you erode people's trust a lot, well, what ends up happening? They don't really trust each other. Things get more tense. There's more of a, cynicism in the air. There's more of a defensiveness. There's more of a passive aggression. So that's what is happening currently, in my opinion. And I think it's because a lot of the decency among people has been eroded away. So essentially exploited, right? And a lot of that is from psychology, because it's like the Pandora's box or whatever. People open the lid and they're like, okay, well, we want more views on our news show. We want more views on our YouTube channel. We want more sales. How do we do that? Oh, well, psychology says that if you can evoke people's emotions and then place your product next to it, then you'll increase your sales. So some people start doing this, their sales go up. Other marketing firms start doing it too. They have people that are experts at marketing. They go from firm to firm. They tell you what to do. It's like it's just exploiting the public over and over and over. It's like, do they care if it's beneficial to people? Not really. They kind of will say it's there's a benefit in this. You're supposed to use it in a certain way. Chocolate or potato chips or lip gloss or makeup or purses or video games or all the things that people use to an extreme. Yeah. The marketing firm, they don't really take responsibility for people overusing stuff. Wi-Fi, 5G, 6G, now shown to degrade people's mitochondria. They don't care. They just want people to buy their stuff. I mean, this is kind of an old trope, but it's very true. Yeah. So anyway, and I don't really know the solution. That's actually the hard part, is knowing the solution. Complaining is easy, right? Complaining is very easy. But I think that the solution, something I would like, let's say, is, to have a job, have a wife, have kids, have a community, have a church to go to, which I do have a sense of purpose, which I do. I'm starting to gain more of one. I think sense of purpose is a really important one. Maybe have a hobby. These things would be ideal, really, and go on like a family vacation every year or something, and these things would be really good. And this kind of typifies or defines what it kind of meant to be middle class, right? And they talk about how middle class is eroding, it's vanishing, and now it's just you have the poor and you have the very rich and the ultra rich. And the middle class, that would be great, because when you try and maximize greed over that, you're not really maximizing your fulfillment, your happiness, and everything. So yeah, I mean, yeah. But what do I have? Well, I have the gym. I go to the gym. I have a new church. I'm thankful for that. The new church is pretty good, really. It's like a little enclave of white people. I appreciate it. And when I say that, I know people might think it sounds racist, but I have gone to churches, and I'm not kidding you at all. I have gone to churches here in my city in Canada, all Filipino. And there are churches that are specifically Filipino, but I went to one, it was a Catholic church, and there was 5, maybe 10 white people sitting in the pews in this big church, and there was 150 or 200 Filipino people. And obviously it's mostly old people, but actually Filipinos, it is more of a family affair for Filipinos. But it's this, like I say, this is what's going on. And so what else do I have? Well, I have family issues, Nobody wants that. But yeah, the family issues I have, they're pretty severe, I would say. I have health and mental health issues, like I think so many people do have now. But we're all trying to press on. At least I think most of us, we're trying to continue in life, and address the health and mental health issues if we have them, but also press forward, right? That is important. I have a therapist, which I'm thankful for. I'm supposed to be starting with a new therapist just to try it out. Next week, I'll try a trauma. No, not a trauma. Well, he's supposed to be. They all say they're trained in trauma, but he's supposed to be for. Apparently, he's supposed to know about complex trauma, and he's supposed to work with somatic or trauma in the body, which that would be good to work with. If he actually is able to help, I would appreciate it. I mean, I don't know. A lot of times they say they can help, and they can't really, but he might be able to. And yeah, I have a porn and masturbation addiction, which flares up every so often, which I hate. I hate that. Okay, I really hate that. I don't feel proud. I don't feel good about saying that. I feel guilty. I feel ashamed. But it's acknowledging reality, and that's really hard to do. But I think it's necessary. Yeah, screen addiction. I think so many people have a screen addiction nowadays. And I have a bunch of hobbies that I can't really stick with, which I don't like that either, you know. I've got some, health-related stuff that I use, like supplements and health-related devices and stuff, and I try and eat healthy and everything, but again, the whole point of doing all of this stuff is so that, we can have like a fulfilling life, so we could be around other people and have like a good time with other people. But it's, for some reason, it's very hard. It's very isolating. Life is very isolating. You know what I mean? Like, there's some sort of energy or force that causes things to feel awkward, difficult. There's something that's difficult about being in the company of other people. Yeah, and I don't really like acknowledging that because it feels like an indictment against myself, but I look at the data and stuff and I'm like, it's not just me. There's something going on, and that a lot of people are experiencing a similar thing. I wrote my book draft. I'm very proud of that, actually. I'm happy that I did that. I'm still gathering feedback on that. I'd like to get more feedback. I have a cat. I really appreciate him. He's a good cat. Thanks be to God for my cat and for all the good things in life. That's where all good things come from, is from God. I have my own place. I'm lucky. I'm grateful that I get to have my own place. It's not in a good area or anything. It used to be a crack house. Found a giant crack pipe above the closet. And this used to be a crack house, but hey, I made it a little bit nicer, and at least I have my own place. Homeless people were banging on my door before. The back door, I did not open it. Yeah, it's a rough area, actually. My car got broken into twice. The first 2 days that I moved in, I parked, and then they didn't smash the window. They just opened the door because my brother forgot to lock the door. And then on the U-Haul, they opened the back because there was no lock on the back thing. But I was only parked there for a few hours. But it's a ghetto area. Thanks be to God, I get some money coming in that I can survive on. And I have a lot of layered or lateral knowledge, but it's not very focused. And that's kind of where knowledge is useless if you can't apply it, right? I have strong faith. So these are the things that I have. These are what's going on currently. So yeah, and I ordered a printer because I want to I want to print out some stuff, just so that because I like helping people. Like I like giving people like correct information or true information, and especially like something that they can do. I like doing that, but it's very hard to do. But I would like to print out some stuff so that I would have basically like the longer version printed, so that if I am trying to help somebody or tell somebody about something, then I can have it almost like a file that I can draw on and give it to them, or if they're interested, that is. And but the easiest part would just be to give like a protocol or something like that, because that's just something that people can follow. Always I say the most important thing is prayer and faith, but yeah, I think that there is true information. I'd like to organize it a little bit better. And yeah, I guess that's about it. Well, it's not true. I have more to say. Actually, I'll save this for another video. I have a note here on. I want to talk about words that hold power. I think that's a really interesting topic, one that I love, or one that I like getting into. And then I also wanted to talk about how people are going to be brainwashed anyway. I saw this thing that that said that people that you get it said you're going to get brainwashed no matter what, but what you can do is choose how you get brainwashed. Maybe people would disagree with the phrasing of that, but I kind of think it's true. And an example I would give is that when I'm in waiting rooms and stuff, people are always on their phone looking at something. A lot of the older people, they're reading articles. And yeah, I think that people are going to get brainwashed no matter what. So anyways, that's going to be another topic. Yeah, so that's all.